And here we are at Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 23. Therefore take heed unto yourselves, lest you forget the covenant of the Lord your God, which he made with you, and make you a graven image or the likeness of anything which the Lord your God has forbidden you. For the Lord your God is a consuming fire, even a jealous God. Notes. Now he is jealous over his people because he loves us and will not endure any rivalry in our affection and our devotions. Verse 25. When you shall beget children and children's children, and you shall have remained long in the land, and shall corrupt yourselves, and make a graven image, or the likeness of anything, and shall do evil in the sight of the Lord your God, to provoke him to anger. Notes. Well, those in the modern church do not make graven images of sorts. Still, idolatry is alive and well. And idolatry is basically anything that we place before Christ and him crucified, and it becomes an idol. To be sure, this provokes the Lord to a great deal of anger and frustration. Verse 26. I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day, that you shall soon utterly perish from off the land whereunto you go over Jordan to possess it. You shall not prolong your days upon it, but shall utterly be destroyed. Notes. The warning is very clear, and as we shall read, things go out of hand pretty quickly. Verse 27. And the Lord shall scatter you among the nations, and you shall be left with few in number among the heathen, whither the Lord shall lead you. Notes. Well, this is exactly what happened. I mean, whatever nation that the Israelites found themselves in, they would always be in a minority, and they would be treated accordingly. That has happened dozens of times, it seems. Verse 28. And there you shall serve gods, the work of men's hands, wood and stone, which neither see, nor hear, nor eat, nor smell. But if from thence you shall seek the Lord your God, you shall find him, if you seek him with all your heart and with all your soul. Notes. Now obviously this is a very beautiful promise. If honesty and sincerity find lodging in the heart of any person, irrespective as to what they have done, if the Lord is sought, he will be found. And that's the bottom line. Verse 30. When you are in tribulation and all these things are come upon you, even in the latter days, if you turn to the Lord your God and shall be obedient unto his voice, for the Lord your God is a merciful God, he will not forsake you, neither destroy you, nor forget the covenant of your fathers, which he swore unto them. Notes, a little bit of this actually refers to the great coming tribulation in Matthew chapter 24, verse 21, and, here and there around the Bible. But ultimately the Lord will bring the Jews back to their rightful place, with every promise being kept, which will take place at the second coming in Zechariah chapter 13, verse 6. All of you preachers out there that are saying that God has forsaken Israel, you simply do not understand the Word, and you need to stop what you're saying. Verse 32. For ask now of the days that are past, which were before you, since the day that God created man upon the earth, and ask from the one side of heaven unto the other, whether there has been any such thing as this great thing, or has been heard like it. Notes. And obviously the Lord is talking about delivering Israel out of Egyptian bondage, and as well, he was with Israel throughout the entirety of the past 40 years, performing miracles on a daily basis, it seems. No, there had never been anything quite like that, to be assured. Verse 33. Did ever people hear the voice of God speaking out of the midst of the fire, as you have heard, and live? Or has God essayed to go and take him a nation from the midst of another nation, by temptations, by signs, and by wonders, and by war, and by a mighty hand, and by a stretched out arm, and by great terrors, according to all that the Lord your God did for you in Egypt before your eyes? Unto you it was shown, that you might know that the Lord He is God, and there is none else beside Him. There is no other God. Verse 36, out of heaven He made you to hear His voice, that He might instruct you. And upon earth He showed you His great fire, and you heard His words out of the midst of the fire. And because He loved your fathers, which would be Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and such, therefore He chose their seed after them, and brought you out in His sight with His mighty power out of Egypt, to drive out the nations from before, greater and mightier than you, to bring you in, to give you their land for an inheritance as it is this day. Verse 39, know therefore this day, and consider it in your heart, that the Lord He is God in heaven above, and upon the earth beneath there is none else. You shall keep therefore His statutes and His commandments, which I command you this day, that it may go well with you, and with your children after you, and that you may prolong your days upon the earth, which the Lord your God gives you forever. Notes, the sum of this whole exhortation is first of all to acknowledge and lay to heart that God is the alone God of the universe in heaven and on earth, and hence as well to be obedient to His laws, and so to have as a recompense a happy continuance in the beloved land. Well, as we all know that, as I've been saying repeatedly, that's not exactly what happened. Verse 41. Then Moses severed 3 cities on this side Jordan toward the sun rising, that the slayer might flee thither, which should kill his neighbor unawares, and hated him not in times past, and that fleeing unto one of these cities he might live. Notes, this is a city of refuge. It's not for murderers, but for those who would be killed accidentally. Verse 43. Namely, Bezer in the wilderness, in the plain country, of the Reubenites, and Ramoth in Gilead, of the Gadites, and Golan in Bashan, of the Manassites. Verse 44. And this is the law which Moses set before children of Israel. These are the testimonies and the statutes and the judgments which Moses spoke unto the children of Israel after they came forth out of Egypt. On this side Jordan, in the valley over against Beth Peor, in the land of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who dwelt at Heshbon, whom Moses and the children of Israel smote after they were come out of Egypt. And they possessed the land, and the land of Og, king of Bashan, 2 kings of the Amorites, which were on this side Jordan toward the sun rising. From Aroer, which is by the bank of the river Arnon, even unto Mount Sion, which is Hermon, and all the plain on this side Jordan eastward, even unto the sea of the plain under the springs of Pisgah. Chapter 5. And Moses called all of Israel, and said unto them, Hear, O Israel, the statutes and judgments which I speak in your ears this day, that you may learn them, and keep, and to do them. Notes, the necessity of all of Israel learning the law likewise. Most modern believers must learn the Bible and do so for themselves. Verse 2. The Lord our God made a covenant with us in Horeb. The Lord made not this covenant with our fathers, but with us, even us, who are all of us here alive this day. Notes, the covenant made at Sinai is basically what they're talking about with the people with Israel as a people. And we must begin again at chapter 5 of Deuteronomy, verse 4. Thank you, and God bless.